Hi there, name's Dakota. I was the editor on Joshscorcher's review of the MLP G3 episode, A Very Minty Christmas, as well as that of Mysterious Ne'er-Do-Well, Ponyville Confidential, To Where and Back Again, and The Cutie Remark. I was looking through the comment section on that video, as I often do on videos I edit for Josh, purely out of a healthy dose of narcissism, and I discovered that those of you who are fans of Josh saw me and actually kind of liked me, which is really nice to hear. Makes me feel all warm inside.
That editor, I like him more.
Throws laptop to the floor.
All hail Dakota the edited! Editor Pony is best pony!
Great thought from the editor.
I want the editor to talk more, honestly. Little clips like that as a standalone video would be awesome.
Well, alright then, Braden Hamilton, since you asked, I will give you more. I wasn't sure what to say at first, but since the year is coming to an end, I thought I'd keep the mood of this video positive by talking about some of the good things that happened this year. Now, I had originally intended this to be a top 10 video, but yeah, since we're dealing with 2016 here, I really couldn't find enough stuff to do that. Granted, this list will be kind of biased towards things that I'm interested in, as well as staying out of world issues and politics. Oh, but man, 2016 was an absolute dumpster fire. They killed the gorilla, a cheese puff got elected president, YouTube changed the algorithms, fake news all around leading into Keemstar and Leafy being a thing, and there were far too many celebrity deaths. So I think the best thing to do in this situation to prepare for 2017 is to be positive and think of the good stuff. Some rules. First, there will be no mention of politics or world events, not because I don't care about anything, but because I'm admittedly ignorant on those subjects. I would rather not speak about something I hardly know anything about and make myself look like a fool for potentially taking the wrong stance. Second, I'll only be talking about one category per number, so one number will be dedicated to sports, one to movies, etc. Finally, these will be in no particular order, as I'm terrible at ranking things. I want them all to be number 1, but I can't, so I'll just list them from 1 to 5. With that said, let's begin.
1.
The Cubs won the World Series. I'm not even an avid baseball fan, and saying those words just sounds so weird. Starting after 1945, there were a couple statements we could make with absolute certainty. We're all gonna lie, we're all gonna cry, and the Cubs are never gonna win the World Series. Well, near the end of the year, we all had to strike that from the list. History was made in Game 7 of the World Series on November 2nd, 2016, when after a tense 10-inning game, Anthony Rizzo caught the final out, leaving the Chicago Cubs with a 1-point lead on the Cleveland Indians, taking home the championship title for the first time in 108 years. Again, I'm not much of a baseball fan, but I went nuts with this game. This was seriously the best baseball game I'd ever seen, and when they finally won, I lost my mind. A dad opened up a 37-year-old beer that he'd saved for this day, which it had since lost its fizz and turned sickly orange. Chicago fans finally got to chant the words they could taste for as long as they could remember. By far, my absolute favorite part of all this is the fact that John Oliver had to eat his words.
The Chicago Cubs will never, ever win the World Series. No. I'm an idiot.
Oh man, that was hilarious. What's even funnier is that Back to the Future managed to predict that this would happen. They were just a year off.
2.
Overwatch. Now, I was also going to include the release of Final Fantasy 15 as it had been hyped up since I was in high school, but I don't know, I didn't want to cheat. For a lot of Blizzard fans, this game had quite a bit of hype around it. For me, it kind of came out of nowhere. Never been much of a Blizzard fan myself, but Overwatch might turn that around for me. I'll go on record to say that before the release of this game, one of my all-time favorite video games ever was Team Fortress 2. But even I will admit that leading up to this release, playership was dying down quite a bit. A lot of people like to say that Overwatch killed TF2, but I disagree. I like to think that TF2 was already dying and Overwatch was just kindly taking over, passing the torch of the character-driven, team-based, class-oriented, objective-focused, cartoony first-person shooter, which is apparently a genre now. For the same reason I fell in love with TF2, I fell in love once again with Overwatch. There's so much interesting backstory and lore with the Omnics and Talon Corporation and all that stuff, and the characters are all lively and colorful and full of, well, character. I love the Shimada brothers and their tragic struggle. I love Tracer and her friendship with Winston and rivalry with Widowmaker. I love May's cute, bubbly attitude despite her horrific backstory. as well as the overwhelming salt she generates. I love Lucio's positive attitude. I love Reaper's personality. I love Diva's spunk. I love Junkrat and Roadhog's relationship. And of course, I love the animated shorts they put out. My favorite of all of them is probably Dragons, but I'm not going to deny it. The Last Bastion made me cry.
3,
Leo got his friggin' Oscar, and it's about damn time. I honestly didn't know much about Leonardo DiCaprio before the year 2010. In fact, up until that point, I always got him mixed up with Matt Damon. Yeah, I know, ain't that weird? But after the release of Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio became a much clearer, more identifiable person to me. One who I wouldn't mistake for anyone, and one who became one of my absolute favorite actors. The latter point was definitely cemented for me with the release of Django Unchained and his brilliant portrayal of the wicked Calvin Candy. There was certainly Oscar buzz around that performance, and I'm undoubtedly certain that he deserved it. Yeah, the blood in that scene, the gash, that was real. That was real blood coming from a real gash when he smashed a real glass. Did that 5 times fast. We all already knew that, but it becomes no less fun to tell people that. But, once again, as with many nominations before it, he got snubbed for the Oscar. He'd been nominated 3 other times before this movie and lost, and this time he didn't even get a nomination, losing it to Christoph Waltz. Granted, Waltz gave a fantastic performance, but I think we can all agree DiCaprio probably deserved it a little more. Wolf of Wall Street came around and he got 2 nominations, one for Best Actor and one for Best Picture. He was a producer on the movie. And he got snubbed for both, in favor of Matthew McConaughey and Dallas Buyers Club for Actor and 12 Years a Slave for Picture. I'm sure there were memes beforehand, but as far as mainstream memes go, this was the catalyst for the worst of them. We all saw them, Leo desperately wanting the Oscar and never achieving it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Well, come 2016, the internet could finally shut up about it because Leo finally got the gold. He had to literally shed blood, sweat, and tears, crawl through actual friggin' snow, and fight a mother truckin' bear. But he finally got it. You go, Leo.
4,
The We Are Number One memes. Yeah, I know, I can already hear you in the comments section. What do you mean? Why are you calling this a good thing? This is so annoying. But hear me out. Okay? See, these memes were kind of grouped up together with a set of memes involving the X source material that every time Y happens and X, Z happens. It all really got started with the theme song to that god-awful TV show, The Nut Shack, which I'd never even heard of until that point, and basically created a trifecta between it, B-Movie, and We Are Number One. The internet has always kind of had an affinity for silly kids shows, taking them out of context and making them even sillier or more profane in some cases, and Lazy Town, the show from whence We Are Number One hails, was no exception. But the difference here was that the Nut Shack and the B-Movie came from a more of a malicious place, more of an angle of making fun of the source material. But We Are Number One was different. The We Are Number One memes at their core were intended not to make fun of Lazy Town, but to raise awareness for an individual in need. Stephen Carl Stephenson, the actor who plays Robbie Rotten, the villain singing the song, was recently diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And even with the money he'd earned on Lazy Town, it wasn't enough to fund his cancer treatments. So he, along with some friends, humbly set up a GoFundMe page to help pay for his medical care, but even that wasn't enough. That was, at least, until various other YouTubers discovered the page and decided to raise awareness by pumping out a series of We Are Number One parodies that managed to gain quite a bit of traction. Using the traffic those videos got, he promoted the GoFundMe page by including it in the description of every parody of We Are Number One he made. As a result, Stephen Carl didn't just meet his 100K goal, but surpassed it by 12K in just 2 months. It just goes to show that while the internet can sometimes be a cruel place, it still has a heart in there. And when it wants to, it can bring people together to save someone's life. Emphasis on when it wants to. Side note, can we get a petition going to rename the internet to the Meme World to honor Stephen Carl? I think that would be so friggin' cool.
5,
Deadpool The Movie. This one is pretty special to me. I'm one of those weird few that actually kind of liked X-Men Origins Wolverine when I saw it, but even back then I knew that they had done Deadpool wrong. I mean, he's the merc with a mouth. It's in his friggin' name. You don't go sewing his mouth shut. I could accept the stupid design if you at least kept his mouth open, but no, you just had to ruin it. Needless to say, fans were outraged, and for years, even before Origins, Ryan Reynolds was campaigning hard to get a Deadpool movie off the ground. Immediately after the release of Origins, Reynolds and a couple special effects artists at Fox put together some test footage of what a Deadpool movie would be like, entirely rendered in CG in the hopes of getting a movie greenlit. This was back in 2010, and the studio had little to no faith in the project. They gave it the red light. But someone on that team, who exactly is unknown, held onto the footage for a few years and then leaked it during Comic-Con 2014. And of course, the fans went wild. There was an explosion on the internet. Fox was holding it close to the chest, taking down any platforms that had it, but it was too late. The word got out, fans took a stand, they screamed at Fox, demanding a movie. And Fox had no choice. In September of 2014, the movie was finally greenlit, slated for February 2016. Fun fact, the day the footage leaked just so happened to be my birthday, July 28th. So I pretty much considered it a birthday present from the internet to me. And you know what? Deadpool came out and it was exactly what we wanted. All the fourth wall jokes, all the sex, all the nudity, all the profanity, all the quotable memes, all the violence, all the balls to the wall R-rated madness. And it was glorious. It may not have been the best movie ever made, but it was the movie Deadpool fans needed, the one they deserved. And for that, we all thank you. Ryan Reynolds, Tim Miller, and all the glorious writers who made this magic happen, thank you. So yeah, those are my 5 picks for some of the good things that happened in 2016. What are some of your picks? Leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to read and respond to as many as I can. And for those of you who came from Joshscorcher's video, thanks for paying enough attention to a little editor making small points and for coming by and listening to me ramble about stuff I like. I really hope I can make more videos like this. Until next time, have a happy 2017.